Hey everybody, it's Liz with Austin Edible Gardens. I am out in a public teaching garden in East Austin today. I've been managing this space for about 6.5 years, and I need to rebuild the cedar beds that you see behind me. They have been installed for about 7 years. They were done before I came on as the manager, but they are totally falling apart. So I want to show you how I'm going to rebuild them. In this video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to demo them and the design for the new beds. And then in the next video, I will show you how I build them and install them. You might notice my voice sounds funny and I have a mask. It's actually due to the cedar pollen in Central Texas in December and January. All the cedar trees release their pollen and a lot of people get allergic reactions, including me. So I apologize for my voice, and I've been kind of masking up outside to protect my nose from the pollen when I'm not talking. The biggest problem with the existing beds is that they were built in these 12-foot spans of lumber, and they have bowed out under the weight of the soil. I'm not sure the 4x4s in the corners are made out of cedar either. The screws have been pulling out of those and they're becoming rotten. So the first thing I'm going to do is take all of the lumber apart and get that out of the garden. And then I'm going to move the soil onto a tarp so that I can reuse the soil after I build the beds. The soil here is amazing. We've been building it up for about 7 years, so I want to make sure I can use that soil. So you can see a close-up of a couple of the beds here. I'm actually going to rebuild 6 beds, but you can see the state of the wood. It's rotting, pulling away from the posts, and completely bowing out into the pathways that make them completely impassable. Most of the beds are empty, but I need to finish harvesting so that I have completely clean beds and I can remove all the soil. So there are a few cauliflower plants. This is a Veronica, beautiful cauliflower variety. There's a few more broccoli plants and some collard greens. So I want to make sure that I am harvesting all there is to harvest before I have to remove all the plants. Now I can take the rest of the plant out. I have to remove everything, including the roots, so that I can remove all that soil under there. Luckily, in this garden, we have lots of composting options. What I'm going to do with these brassica plants, cauliflower and broccoli and collard greens are in the brassica family, and we have some beautiful chickens that love to eat the leaves of brassica plants. So the way that I'm going to compost these is simply tossing them in to the chicken run and letting the girls and the rooster have at it. It's a really healthy treat for the chickens and they love it. They will eat those leaves completely down to the stems. Now it's time to demo the beds. This wood is so rotten. I'm simply going to use a hammer and knock on the corners a few times and they will hopefully come apart from those posts. I might need an extra helping hand, but so far they are very easily coming apart. Now we can see how rotten the wood actually is. Now that I have a chance to look at the wood and feel the weight of it, it does seem like it is cedar. I think it was just rotting because of the contact with the soil for so long, and because the elements here in Texas are so extreme. It gets beaten by the sun in the summer and very cold and freezes in the winter, but those boards are completely rotten. I'm sure there has been some chewing insect pests, termite style pests eating them for the past few years as well. So these were so ready to be remodeled. While I have the chance, I'm going to do a little bit of Bermuda mitigation. Bermuda grass is a real problem in Central Texas. This garden is completely covered with Bermuda grass, as many gardens are here in Central Texas. I'm going to go ahead and pull up as many runners as I can. And then as I begin to shovel the loose dirt away, I'm going to pull out any Bermuda grass that I can too. So I'm going to set aside the drip irrigation and just start shoveling this nice loose soil and compost blend into the tarp. And I'll save that until I'm ready to put it back into the new beds. So here I have a chance to remove some of the Bermuda grass and the roots and runners now that the soil is loose. I'll continue to do this until all the soil is moved onto the tarp and I have a level surface for the new bed. Now it's time to design the new beds. These are going to be based on the design that we use for most of our backyard gardens. In fact, there's a video of us building our own backyard garden beds, and I'll put a link to that in the notes. They're made out of 2x6 and 4x4 untreated cedar. 3 main changes to this design from the previous design is that these are going to be a little bit taller. They're going to be 12 inches tall, or 2 2x6 boards on top of each other. They're also going to have internal bracing, so I'm going to put 2x6 boards in between those long 12-foot spans of lumber, and that's going to kind of tie the boards together so they don't bow under the weight of the soil. And the last change is that I'm going to put internal wood stabilizer on all sides of the lumber, and that will help protect it from any chewing insects. It's going to put a layer between the wood and the soil, and it's going to add a little bit of UV protection to the outside of the wood. So this is going to extend the life of the wood, and I should get at least 10 to 15 years on these new beds. This video showed the existing state of the raised beds in the teaching garden and why I needed to rebuild them, how I demoed them and saved the soil for the new beds, and how we designed the new beds with new features to extend the life of the lumber. The next video, I'll show you how I build and install the new beds.